At least one true crime YouTuber is facing backlash over the publication and sale of Gannon Stauch's autopsy photos. And she might be in legal trouble too, maybe not. The Colorado court is tapping into their legal department to see what can be done about Zavgirl, who has gotten a boatload of complaints. According to Andrew Maestas, a court operations specialist with the Colorado 4th Judicial District, quote, "We have been receiving numerous notifications about this. Our legal department has been notified to determine what, if anything, the court can do regarding this issue." Let's talk about how the controversy began. As many of you know, I covered the Letitia Stauch case in detail literally from the start. Days after little 11-year-old Gannon Stauch's stepmom, Letitia Stauch, reported him missing on January 27, 2020, I published my first video about Letitia's sketchy news interview. People weren't believing it.
You are?
I am Tisha Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, sounds like we're good. Every once in a while my mic will give out and I want to make sure that's not going to happen here. Okay.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work and you can verify Gannon was at home.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Okay.
If I had to give, I'm not gonna say that part.
That's okay.
Never mind.
That's right.
I could take that out.
I understand that it gets tricky with
Yeah.
legal stuff.
We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
I covered it in depth recently when Letitia recently stood trial for murder and was convicted. When gruesome photos of Gannon's remains were displayed in court, I made sure to edit them out of my videos. It was easy for me because I never go live. But many other YouTubers did the same thing, especially those who were streaming the court trial live, and we were unexpectedly greeted with those morbid photos of Gannon's body, even though they were blocked off. The images were necessary for the jury to see, but not necessarily necessary for all of us viewers to watch online. However, at least one YouTuber, maybe more, is in hot water over her decision to display Gannon's gruesome photos behind a $3 paywall on Patreon. Let's talk about this controversial case file and how it has come to this point. When a court trial is resolved, generally the bulk of the discovery in the case can be released to the public because of the Freedom of Information Act. Because of our Freedom of Information Act in the United States. It varies by state, but in America, we are big in believing in our freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and FOIAs. So that's what happened in the 2018 Chris Watts case. Discovery was released after Chris Watts pled guilty to brutally slaying his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, their daughters, Bella and Cece Watts, and his unborn son, Nico Lee Watts. By May 2019, a treasure trove of videos and photos of Chris Watts and his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, would be found and released to the public as well. But there weren't any gruesome photos of the victims in that discovery. That would change with the Letitia Stauch case. I didn't realize that because Gannon's autopsy was performed in Florida and the laws vary by state, the photos would be released due to that state's laws. Due to Florida state laws. Let's talk about YouTube viewers' desires and the crazy cost of the discovery. So one thing that YouTube viewers often want to see are the interrogation videos and body cam footage. They want to see all of it because they don't play that on the news. But during Letitia Stauch's trial, plenty of her body cam videos were displayed on screens and you couldn't see them well. The audio was pretty bad. That's why viewers ask us, YouTubers, to obtain the the original discovery files. They want to pour over the interviews and the body cam videos and the phone calls in their best format. That's one reason when Letitia Stalk's case files were released, I put plenty of her body cam videos on my new channel called Plunder Body Cam Videos. For example, video footage of Letitia and her daughter Harley Hunt at the Candlewood Suites in Amarillo, Texas on February 1st, 2020 is something that viewers wanted to see, even though that doesn't even have any audio. I compiled videos and photos from Letitia's case into a video. You will not see Gannon's autopsy photos here. I won't publish them. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not setting myself up as better than anyone else or holier than thou, or I'm not pushing another person down or piling on anyone. I've made my fair share of mistakes on this YouTube journey. Each day I learn to do better by the grace of God. I've issued plenty of apologies where I've missed the mark. True crime YouTubers have a bad enough reputation as a whole anyway. Some people think we shouldn't even be on here. We shouldn't be making money from this. I pray this situation helps us all to elevate. It's a miracle that I even got access to the case file, considering the initial cost estimates of the case. Initially, a few of us YouTubers requested the case, and the estimates came back at more than $25,000, including the case report, 911 calls, body cam videos, interviews, photos, jail phone calls. Thank God I was able to collab with another YouTuber, not Zavgirl, to get access to the case file. The price for Letitia's jail phone calls were reduced, but they would still cost a whopping $6,282 instead of the $17,842 estimate initially they gave us. However, the remaining case file had been greatly reduced to $422.50. On June 20th, Andrew sent me an email letting me know the reduced cost of the file. He wrote, "The court has received your records request in 20 CR 1358 People versus Letitia Stalk. Please note that all publicly available pleadings filed into the case are available on our website. Regarding the evidence and exhibits admitted throughout the jury trial, it is not possible to add that to our website due to the large volume of data. Instead, we will distribute the material directly to requesting parties and charge applicable fees in accordance with Chief Justice Directive 0601. The cost breakdown for all evidence admitted at trial is listed below. 1,570 pages of photo documents, exhibits, 74 audio-video recordings. The total $392.50 plus $30 per hour research fee. Total calculated upon completion of request. The material will be shared electronically in a secure password-protected format, which you will be able to download. They also said they could put the material on a USB flash drive and mail it to me. This option adds between $30 and $40 to the total, which accounts for the cost of purchasing a suitable flash drive. If you would like to choose specific pieces of evidence from the case instead of receiving everything, I have attached a list of all exhibits for your review. Please let me know how you intend to proceed with the request so I can provide the next steps in the process, including payment and delivery information. Let's talk about opening the Letitia Stalk discovery videos and photos. Even though the Letitia Stalk exhibit list gave me a detailed description of the photos and more that would be included, and even though I knew autopsy photos were displayed at trial, I still didn't expect the gruesome photos to be included in the discovery. I don't know why. Perhaps the most daunting to view were the ones with the descriptions as follows. Number 67 photo. Location of suitcase and Gannon, close up. 147 photo. Gannon in fetal position under the bridge, and many other autopsy photos. I don't wish for anyone to have to see those. Even seeing Gannon's Minecraft t-shirt without him, just the Minecraft t-shirt with cuts in it, was too much for me, let alone seeing any damage to his little body and passing that on. I'm not one for viewing graphic things, so I kind of squinted literally as I was editing. I edited out the video. I took out the video with the evidence photo that people wanted to see. I took out anything I considered too disturbing. I flipped through the photos again and again to make sure I didn't accidentally leave anything in that would be too upsetting. I even wondered if showing a fired bullet would be too gruesome. Determining what crosses the line is subjective. Where is the line? Is it too much to show the Blue Star photos? You can see where it lit up in his room on the wall. Are images of blood too much? After all, I cover my eyes during gross scenes in a movie or I'll look away. Thank the Lord, not once did I consider saving those autopsy photos for a Patreon video. That didn't even cross my mind. I have, however, placed a lot of Letitia's phone calls on my Plunder True Crime Spotify platform, which has all the rest of my old archive videos. Sure, some viewers might want to see autopsy photos, but that becomes too voyeuristic and disturbing to me. It's like when I was back in college at FAMU in Florida and those Faces of Death videos came out on videotape. You might remember them if you're my age. We would watch them way back then, but it was all too much. Besides, with gunshot wounds and blunt force injuries to her son's body, it's no wonder that Gannon's mom, Landon, she left the courtroom when they displayed those type of photos. I didn't even know Gannon, and it's difficult to look at that kind of stuff. I wouldn't even want to imagine the kind of pain his loved ones feel. His mom, his dad, and everyone, his sister. Other people can more readily view autopsy photos in a detached way because it's their line of work or it's their personality, it's their constitution, it's what they're made of. Some forensic pathologists, of course, or doctors, or even lawyers, they can even eat a sandwich while they're looking at gross crime scene photos. I think that's a blessing for them. It's a good thing that certain folks have that type of stomach and constitution to do their jobs without passing out or getting sick like other people might. But even those same people in that line of work wouldn't necessarily consider putting autopsy photos on Patreon unless it's perhaps for some type of course. I don't know. One thing I want to make clear, I never saw any photos of Gannon without his clothes that weren't blurred. I can verify that part of Zavgirl's statement that we will read later in this video. That part is true. I do believe the rumor mill is going crazy a little bit, taking on a life of its own. I do not believe the court released any unblurred photos of Gannon in his birthday suit like some people are saying. I don't know where people are getting those allegations that unblurred photos of Gannon somehow were allegedly distributed. I don't think that's true. A lot of people will just say things without seeing proof or evidence. I also don't know the exact details of what was actually offered on Zavgirl's Patreon before it was removed. I did see that she had about 263 Patreon members a few days ago. I believe maybe she had only one $3 tier. I saw her Patreon post just the titles, and you know how they give you a little bit if you're not a member, about Gannon's autopsy. There was a Dropbox link that led to a video about the autopsy, which I didn't watch, but I have watched the controversy over Zavgirl's actions steadily growing over the past few days. From YouTubers railing on her, reporting about it, to the mainstream media going off on her. Brian Entin sat in for Dan Abrams Live on News Nation on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. You can watch what he has to say in the video titled "YouTuber Charged $3 for People to See Gruesome Autopsy Photos of 11-year-old." So Brian Entin got pretty angry about it all. Brian said they actually released the photos to her. Zavgirl had to pay. They released the photos and she got them, and you can just imagine, based on the description of the way that little boy was killed, what those photos look like. Even having them in my mind's eye briefly is just too much. Brian continued. He said Zavgirl then proceeded to post them on her Patreon account, which is an account attached to her YouTube page, and she charged her followers money to see the autopsy reports. For $3, you could see little Gannon's body. She was making money off of that little boy's autopsy photos of his severely beaten to death little body. You know, some people argue, well, is the state making money off of the same by selling them to us? Brian said, really, they just got They have no place on the internet. It was hard enough for the jury to have to look at them, but for this YouTuber to go to all that trouble to request them, to pay the money to get them from the government and not only post them, but then to charge people to see them. So Brian Entin said, I just find it sick, and I question, has Zavgirl ever even been in a courtroom or interviewed a grieving family? I think that's an important lesson. We have to remember there are grieving people on the other sides of these screens. So Brian Entin said, that's my issue with some of these YouTubers that cause problems. They hide behind their computers. They don't even use their real names. Like in this case, we don't even really know who Zavgirl is. Well, some of us know her real name. I'm not going to say it. Some people are putting her on blast too with her real name. But I don't want anyone doxxed and threatened. If you're so proud of your page, Brian said, why don't people use their real names? And he said, this isn't some video game or TV show you're playing on your computer. This is a real family's life. Brian said, Zavgirl, she got a lot of heat for this. She posted a statement on her YouTube page about the controversy. It was deleted, he said. It's back up now. I've seen her community post about it, and we're going to read it all, but Brian read the part where Zavgirl wrote, this is a situation where people feel differently about this. Some people genuinely think making a video including the autopsy photos is bad, and I respect their opinion and feelings. Zavgirl continued, other people like myself think of autopsy photos and the coroner discussing, explaining, interesting and informative, are all able to view it in a more scientific way. Well, Brian said, well, Zavgirl, there is nothing detached about posting the autopsy photos of an 11-year-old little boy, and then on top of it, which I really think pushes it over the line, charging money for people to see them. Brian called it sick. He said it's deranged, and you should just own up to it, whoever you are, wherever you live. Well, he had even invited Zavgirl on the show, but as far as I know, she didn't go on the show. Brian advised Zavgirl, maybe get out from behind your computer screen, go to the local courthouse, and actually sit through a murder trial and see what it's like for the families in real life, not on YouTube. He said, not sitting behind your computer and thinking about clicks, but actually go to the courthouse and see what these families actually have to deal with, and then think about how it might feel for them after having to see those photos in the courtroom, and then to have them plastered all over the internet, and then trying to charge people money to view them so you can get rich off of it. It's just awful, Brian called it. That is the point where Brian brought in District Attorney Michael Allen, who served as the lead prosecutor on Gannon's case, to give his opinion. Michael is the one who explained that since the autopsy took place in Florida, even though it was in the case file in Colorado, those photos were released. Brian said, Michael, you were the lead prosecutor. You had to go through the whole trial. I can't imagine what it's like. It's got Brian so mad thinking of Gannon's family. And Michael said, I know they are aware of this. How are they processing all of this? Michael Allen said, we reached out to the family members and had discussions with them about this, just letting them know that it's happening and sort of what they can do potentially to combat this. He said, honestly, there's nothing they can do to get these photos down once they're on the internet. I mean, that's true. That's like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once people got that video, whatever it contained, I'm sure it spread like wildfire. DA Allen said it's just completely disrespectful to the family members that have had to live through this horror, but even more so, Gannon deserves so much more in life from his stepmother, and he certainly deserves dignity and respect in death. There's nothing about what this YouTuber is doing, and DA Allen said, I think there's another one out there as well, that they're doing that provides any dignity or respect to Gannon. And the statement that Zavgirl put out, the DA is saying that statement sounds like she's sort of justifying it and it just rings hollow. There are other ways to do this scientifically. For example, Zavgirl could have just used the body diagrams of the autopsy. It also included, instead of the actual photos of Gannon's just completely broken body, that reflects the depravity and the horror that he had to live through and die at the hands of his stepmother, that he had to suffer. Alan called it outright disgusting, and it just speaks to the lowest of human forms, in his opinion. Last time I checked, that News Nation video has more than 1,500 comments and growing. You can imagine, many people are agreeing that it's pretty egregious to, quote, sell autopsy photos. Others question why the autopsy photos were distributed as part of the case file in the first place. But the FOIA included everything shown in court, so I believe that's why they distributed it, plus the Florida element. It's up to us as YouTubers and reporters or whomever to use our discretion about what to display and what to delete. But still, others are bringing up similarly gruesome photos displayed online, on YouTube and elsewhere. Just yesterday I watched one of those free with ads YouTube documentaries about Bob Marley, and I was shocked to see an unblurred photo of a deceased man just lying on the streets in Jamaica. So I guess context matters. I guess who you are matters. I mean, I've seen YouTubers kicked off or demonetized for other violent stuff, but I don't even want to see the diagrams of Gannon's body. So part of this is really based on a person's viewpoint and their intentions. I hesitated to make this video because I don't do YouTube drama. I'm not trying to lift myself above anyone. I'm not, oh, how dare you, but you just don't want to see anyone hurt. Anyone. I really used to like watching Zavgirl in the past from time to time, and in fact we live not far from each other. I remember leaving her a comment once that we should, get together and have coffee sometime, and we never did. But during the Kiely Rodni case, she was a 16-year-old girl who died, according to the Nevada County Sheriff's Office in California, from drowning in her vehicle. I feel during that case, Zavgirl went a bit off the rails. She hosted Ryan Upchurch, a singer, on her channel, a guy I used to like at first too. But however, all these theories started to be spouted about innocent people and trying to connect them oddly to Kiely's case. They had nothing to do with Kiely's case. And various YouTubers were blamed who had been nowhere near California, didn't know Kiely. It made no sense whatsoever. It reminded me of the video I just created about the TikToker who recklessly blamed this innocent University of Idaho professor for the Moscow, Idaho killings, and now she's going through a court battle. I don't think anyone should be defamed so badly. So check out that video about Rebecca Schofield, and her GoFundMe thankfully is rising. It is one thing to say, that guy seemed a little nervous when police were interviewing him, or we can evaluate things that way. It's quite another thing to tell a complete lie and claim YouTuber Icketmill killed Kiely. I mean, I watched Upchurch spout nonsensical theories like, oh, if you rearrange the letters in Icketmill, it spells out this. It's outrageous thinking and behavior, and that's why some YouTubers are no longer on YouTube. Some can come back. We have to examine ourselves. Sometimes YouTubers go crazy with wild theories against real-life people without thinking about the consequences. Maybe some folks are just trying to be funny or creative, but we have to think about loved ones and family members and try not to add insult to literal injury. Meanwhile, Zavgirl is losing subscribers. According to Social Blade, Zavgirl is losing hundreds of subscribers per day. So she wrote a statement, and I can't help but hear it in her voice. Hey guys, I like her voice. I want to address what's going on right now with the Gannon autopsy / coroner video I created. She wrote, unfortunately, this seems to be something where people are very divided on how they feel about it, and I'm hearing a lot from both sides. Well, it seems like people who are against it are mainly the ones commenting. The reality of the situation is that different people feel differently about this. Some people genuinely think making a video including the autopsy photos is bad, and I respect their opinion and feelings, Zavgirl wrote. Other people, like myself, think of autopsy photos and the coroner discussing / explaining them as interesting and informative, and are able to view it in a more scientific, detached way. So people are like, what if this was your child, Zavgirl? If this was your son? And she's saying, yeah, I wouldn't mind if his autopsy photos were out there. She wrote, it's just one of those things where it depends on the person. She wrote, I am not adamantly against taking down the video if people are truly unhappy with it, and I will absolutely consider doing that. Well, that decision was made for her when Patreon got so many complaints they shut it down. But right now, she wrote, it seems that there are a lot of other people who are acting in bad faith and creating lies for fun and excitement in order to pit others against me. There are lies out there, but isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? If you've heard the latest rumor that I've been distributing photos of Gannon's genitalia, I assure you I have not, and his genitalia isn't visible in any of the autopsy photos in the autopsy coroner video. And I believe that's true because I didn't see any of that in the case file I got access to. She wrote, so it's a bit difficult to sort through what's what. When there are other creators who have the same autopsy photos up right here on YouTube for public viewing on their channel, where anyone can stumble across them and they are not being attacked as I am right now, it becomes obvious that some of this hate I'm receiving is not genuine and is being done for other reasons. So I don't know of any YouTubers who've published the autopsy photos on YouTube that I've seen. I haven't seen it. Perhaps some of those who live streamed the court trial that day might still have them up if they, were still on the wide screen and didn't crop it down. YouTube drama gets clicks. That's what Zavgirl said. I understand some of you have issues with me charging money on my Patreon for the video. If I was charging money for the autopsy files alone or something like that, I think I'd see your point, she wrote. But in this case, I spent a lot of time and worked hard putting together a video lining up the coroner's audio and descriptions along with the appropriate part of the photos she is describing and editing it together to try to make it as informative as possible for the viewer. That is what I'm charging for, which I would hope you can agree is understandable. A lot of people don't think that's understandable. A lot of people don't understand. She finished. Zavgirl wrote, anyway, thank you to those who have reached out to me with your take on it in a respectful way, who understand this is simply a bit of a gray area as to what is socially acceptable and what isn't. Like I said, I'm not against removing the video and I care what you think, but it's hard to make sense of it all while I'm getting some very seriously unhinged threats being made against myself and my loved ones, and those threats are coming from those who claim I'm doing something morally objectionable. So she's saying these unhinged people are threatening her, all the while claiming she's doing something immoral. Zavgirl said, for those of you who are willing to discuss this rationally and want to communicate your thoughts, please comment on this post, as I might not see it anywhere else. After I deal with the threats, I will come back and read everything here so I can get an idea on the best way to proceed based on all your input. Thank you guys, Zav. I do agree that Zavgirl should not be getting any kind of threats of physical harm or anything like that. I mean, I saw someone tweeting about a $50,000 bounty on her. I don't think those kinds of comments are funny or helpful and just not appropriate. So what will happen with Zavgirl? I don't know. I'm praying she can come back with a sincere apology, especially for Gannon's family. Some people want, her whole channel shut down and all that. I don't know. I hope she has a sincere apology for Icketmel as well. I wish Ryan Upchurch would apologize to him. But believe me, I've repented for plenty of things, starting this channel with Shanann Watts videos before I even knew it would become a true crime channel. My intention has never been to hurt or victim shame anyone. I've apologized to Shane Carey, who, for comparing him to a Chris Watts in his interview. Over the years, I've learned that the true crime reporting dance is a fine line of passing along information in a way that's informative, caring, and compassionate. I like to watch so many YouTubers out there, especially in the true crime arena, who do it with grace. I mean, if you saw my watch history, but that chapter is one YouTuber that's pretty amazing. He uses his humor to make fun of perpetrators, not victims. Or there's Christina Randall, who makes her channel feel like she's just chatting personally with you about a case. There's Kendall Ray. She's really down to earth, calm, compassionate in her coverage towards victims. She gets in touch with the victims' families. Don't paint us all with the same broad brush. But I don't want to pile on Zav Girl. She's getting enough heat from everyone else. I want to take this whole situation as a learning lesson to learn how to be even more empathetic in my own coverage. Even though I've never been one to, be really animated or get into too much of the gory details, I am learning to, don't go so far as to blame people for stuff unrationally, unreasonably. Some crime cases I completely skip over because they are so gruesome. I can barely read the headlines, especially if they're really violent and if they involve kids. I get more into the psychology of why the person did the things they did, not necessarily how they did it or the aftermath of the physical stuff. That's why I request crime cases to get the truth and facts out there, but I never publish autopsy photos. Philippians 1:6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. There's forgiveness and deliverance available for all of us, thank God. I don't want to jump on some hate bandwagon, but I do think this is an opportunity to take a breath. I know Zav Girl's on vacation. Maybe it's the perfect time for her to let this feedback speak to her and figure out, well, maybe, maybe I did go too far. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe this will help change some laws in Florida. Who knows? I think all of us can take it as a learning lesson of how to approach these crime cases, still dig for the truth, still get the appropriate case information that our viewers want to see. You guys just eat up body cam footage. You want the case files. You want the accurate information. People are always saying, don't blab on, don't just go to Facebook and don't just do this and don't just say what you heard. Get the actual information from the courts, from the cops, get the affidavits, tell us what really happened, and that's what we aim to do. We aim to bring the information truthfully, not in a sensationalistic way, not in a bashing, gruesome, graphic way. That's not my thing anyway, but in the future, maybe it'll teach people that if autopsy photos are included, perhaps they shouldn't be put on Patreon behind a paywall or published at all. I don't know. What do you think about this situation? Thanks so much for watching and stay tuned for the next case.